Welcome back to Rooted and Rising Through the Beauty Industry, where experience meets ambition. I'm Josie, and I'm a hairstylist and brand educator with 10 years of experience in the industry.
And I'm Quinn, a fresh stylist navigating the early years of my career. We're two hairstylists at different stages, one seasoned, one fresh in the game, here to have real conversations about growth, mindset, and the evolution of being a stylist.
Whether you're behind the chair or looking beyond it, we're here to explore the skills, opportunities, and mindset shifts that help us rise together.
Let's get into it.
Welcome back to another episode of Rooted and Rising Through the Beauty Industry. I'm Josie Aldrich.
And I'm Quinn Mattingly. Today we are so excited to be joined by Rose Newton, stylist, branding queen, and owner of Tribe Salon Spa in Roseville, California. Rose has been a salon owner since 2017 and has built something really special at Tribe. Her commitment to education, intentional hospitality, and brand building is something we truly admire. Also, this is so exciting and full circle for me because prior to me becoming a hairstylist, Rose was my hairstylist for many years and has been such an inspiration and mentor for me. So I just feel so special sitting in your salon with you, Rose, getting to have this conversation. Before we dive in, can you start us off with a quote that resonates with you?
Yes, my quote is on my wall. It's seek beauty in all things. I really feel like in life there's the highs and the lows, and through it all you need to be looking for the beautiful pieces in it.
I love that.
I do too. I really do love that. It's funny that that's your quote, because as soon as I walked in, I was trying to get some content for our socials, and I made a point of filming that quote because I think it is so beautiful, and I think there is so much beauty in everything, including just ordinary, right? Just the everyday, a casual retouch on a realtor. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, just casual, and you can find the glam, the beauty, the special, the magic in everything we do. I love that.
And that vinyl on your wall, that was a birthday gift, right? From your husband?
Yeah, it was an anniversary gift. My husband had sent me wine tasting with my sister, and he was supposed to meet me here to pick me up. And this was on the wall. It was so beautiful and emotional. And I'm so glad he chose what he did because I was never going to do it. So he did a great job.
Did you cry?
Oh my God, I cried. Yes, absolutely. My kids were here. My siblings were here. It was really beautiful.
I love that. That's so cute. So you didn't have the quote picked out and he made it? He found it?
Well, I had a small sign in Tribe that said seek beauty in all things. And I had always wanted it to say something up there because it's just a big open space within the salon, but I just was not sure and just kind of non-committal about what should it be and what should it say, and even down to what color. So they nailed it.
If you guys are curious and you want to see it yourself, it will be posted on our Instagram, so you can definitely go check it out. You can also check it out, I'm sure, on Tribe socials as well. But next, going to jump into our highlights and lowlights of the week. My highlight would be that I booked a new extension guest this week, which is always exciting. And I also booked an extension model coming off of a extension education that I had about probably 2 weeks back. I think it's always important to take a model and get that practice in. Rose specifically is very, very passionate about making sure you're implementing immediately what you've learned from a class. Otherwise, you might as well have not even taken the class. So I'm excited to have done that. The low is that Comcast had a outage in the middle of a busy Saturday, and that is chaos. It is running our credit card machine, it's running our booking system, it's running everything, and at that moment is when I was trying to get my deposit for my new extension guest. So I'm also quoting a very, very high price point. I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, we are a mess right now, and it just is stressful. So luckily we got it all figured out. Comcast is back up and running. We got her payment. We're good. But Quinn, what was your highs and lows?
It was nuts. We were trying to check out 4 people at the same time yesterday and rebook their appointments, and we're all trying to keep on a happy face, but we got through it. My highlight is I did a highlight yesterday that I'm really proud of. I've been really trying to nail the beautiful blended, what I see all over Instagram, what I see stylists like Josie and Rose do all day long, just that effortless, beautiful, you could have been born with that hair, but it's just so good. And I've really been trying to dial that in, and I feel like I did that yesterday on my guest. She has super dark hair, a ton of hair, that's where I struggle the most, is guests with dark hair and lots of hair. but I felt really proud of that. I've done some studying. I bought the Blonde Chronicles head sheet, blueprints. So like that's what I read at night. I feel really proud of that. And my low light would definitely be the chaos that was the salon yesterday. It was a busier Saturday than normal. And I was up there trying to check out my guests when Josie was trying to take her extension deposit. And we're all just like running around with chickens, like with our head cut off. But it's just the reality of having a busy salon.
And we can't control Comcast network, right? Like, I mean, it's completely out of our hands. There's nothing you can do in that moment, but it still can be so like, holy crap, what is happening? So we were very happy when it turned back on.
Thank God. Rose, what's your highlight and low light from this week?
Gosh, this week's been really good. I had my son turn 13. That was just so special and monumental for my family to have 2 teenagers now. And I also had a K-tip model this week. It was my first takedown and reapplication. So that was huge. That's something that's new to me that I've been working really hard on. So just to see that transformation, and literally the words flew out of my mouth as soon as she got up to like check her hair in the mirror. I was like, I am just so proud of this. I'm just so proud of the way your hair looks right now. And I almost was like, I can't believe you just said that. Like, cause I know I'm proud of everything I do. Like, I know that I'm like, yes, like that looks awesome. I know that I'm, like I want everybody to know that I'm proud of the work that I do every single appointment. Right. But that one, I was just like, oh, I just love this. And then low, I mean, we had to replace the bathroom flooring in Tribe this week. Like that's never a fun expense, but then at the same time, it looks so good. So it's like a low and a high, I guess, there.
I love that. To your point, I agree. It's tough when you feel so like emotionally attached to a specific project, a specific result of hair, where it doesn't diminish the pride that you have in everything else that you do behind the chair, but there is this moment of learning and like growth within yourself, especially when it is a service that you are actively practicing. And so to have that moment, I think that is so authentic to be like, I'm just so proud of that.
I feel that way every time I complete a service that the guest likes and I like. I think just being newer into my career, obviously I've seen less heads of hair, and I'm just like, honestly, anytime it comes out well, I'm like, thank you, hair gods. You have my back. And I do have to say, I have to commend you both because you've both been stylists for a long time. You're very successful stylists, very booked stylists. You do an incredible job, but you still make an effort to continue and to grow. Like K-tips is a new thing for you, Rose. And it's just so cool to see you do so much, but you're still pushing and still wanting to grow. And same with you, Josie. Going to get more extension education and really just try to master your craft is so nice to see because quite frankly, neither of you have to do that. I think you would be fine, with the education you have today and never learning anything else, but it's really inspirational and it's really validating for me to understand that the journey still continues.
I will say watching my team become excited because they see me being so excited about something has been really invigorating within Tribe. Like that, just seeing that people are coming over, what are you doing? Like I would love to do that too. I would definitely feel like it would help build my business. Like just seeing the infectiousness that comes from being excited about what you're doing and pushing yourself to do something new, it just makes it worth it.
Absolutely. It really is just like, it spreads like wildfire in the salon, and it can be, once you've been working behind the chair for an extended period of time, it can be very easy to get burnt out, and having those flickers of wildfire is so nice. So I'm glad you're experiencing that with K-tips, and it's just nice to have that culture, like excited all around.
Rose, can you introduce yourself for our listeners? Tell us a little bit about your journey as a hairstylist and then how Tribe came to be.
Well, I began my journey into the hair world with Federico Beauty Institute. I guess I could back up. I thought I was going to be in criminal justice. That was definitely, I like helping people. I like to serve. That's really my heart. Like community is super important to me. But I ended up going to beauty school at Federico. I had an amazing experience there. I met amazing people who have carried like throughout my life there from that point on. I had 2 kids in beauty school. I was pregnant twice in beauty school.
We're like, wind that back. Pregnant 2 times while you were still in cosmetology school.
Yes. I found out the first week that I was pregnant with my first son. And then 18 months later, we became pregnant with our second son. So I stayed at Federico for like 2 years, and I kind of like bounced from like daytime school to like nighttime school. And then I met everybody, which was kind of awesome because especially like a lot of the educators that you guys know and love, like I went to school with them. The owner of the salon that you guys work at, I went to school with her. So just getting it kind of gave me like this whole little community of just meeting different other people who were going through the same thing I was going through and, you know, trying to find our journey in the beauty world. So that was really beautiful. So shout out to Federico because I liked being there, and it helped me to feel like I could be a rock star in this industry. From there, I worked in a salon in Lincoln, and that was awesome. Little kind of like mom and pop shop. And then I just kind of made my way to Roseville to work with two other amazing women, Beth and Amanda, and they really helped me to ground myself in my career. Really inspired. Like Beth introduced me to Euphora, which introduced me to just elevating the experience that I was giving behind the chair. And then just they were both so into education, and that was just kind of a whole new world for me. At that point, hair influencers were kind of really just becoming a thing, and so education was more accessible. It wasn't just branded education. It was like the hairstylist telling their secrets, which was so empowering. So from there, 3 or 4 years after that, we opened Tribe, 2017. We were in a suite, and the suite was stifling at best. It's just not meant for me. I wide open spaces, like again, going back to community. I need community to feel inspired. So we opened Tribe, and it was not long after stylists started, you know, kind of coming in to look at the space, and then it just like grew like wildfire there, and then it pumped the brakes. We had to be like, oh, hold on. We were just like creating a pretty space, you know, and then all of a sudden becoming a salon owner felt like a lot of responsibility. And then from there, just a lot of learning and a lot of beautiful moments, but a lot of learning along the way.
What's really exciting is I know you are about to celebrate your 8 years here at Tribe Salon and Spa, which is huge, 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 huge. How is that feeling for you?
It feels kind of surreal, honestly. I feel like it was opened yesterday. Like I feel like there's still so much that I haven't done yet. I guess that's what it feels like. Where it's like, this feels really, really good, but I feel like I'm on the verge of finding something more, I guess, within the space. So, but it also feels really comfortable too. You know, like my team here is incredible. They're all very diverse, and they're all really, really talented, just down to earth. And I feel like that has just made for such a comfort level as a salon owner, which I know can sound anti what you would want as a salon owner, right? Like you always want to be moving forward, but I think that comfortable feeling feels like we can move forward together.
That's so exciting. I mean, to sum it up, you're at the start of the next chapter. Like you are just excited for what's to come.
Nailed it. That is exactly what I meant.
I feel like people are a reflection of you. And I think that's why you feel so good, because you have curated this culture that is true to who you are. Like when we were interviewing Lorena, she kept referencing like her essence. She's like, just stay true to the essence. And I really feel like Tribe is your essence, and people that work here are attracted to that and buy into it and believe in it and just amplify that for you. Because I remember when you opened Tribe, I started seeing you in the studio. I don't know if you remember that. Bare walls. And I was like, that was the first time I saw you. And I was like, this is where you do hair?
I had to tell you something.
What?
I was thinking about you on the way here, and I was like, man, I don't think she knows when I took her consult, like on the phone. I like was on the freeway. I just pulled over on the freeway. And I'm just like, just talking to Quinn about how she's going to come into the studio and we're going to do your hair. I don't know why I told you that, but I just love that was how I did my consultation with you. I feel like our relationship has just been fast. I guess that's what I meant. Fast and hard and loving.
It started on the freeway, like
yeah.
the fast lane. Number one, I had no idea. Number two, we're going to get into this, but you are like the consummate professional. I think you carry yourself in such a kind, approachable way, but you've always been so professional and so buttoned up in how you deliver things. I would have never in a million years thought you pulled over on the freeway to take my call, because I had never had a consult before. that was never an experience I had at a salon. So I'm like, A, the fact that I'm having a consult feels like very serious. I'm like, what does this lady want to know about my hair? But B, the fact that you're just doing it in your car on the side of the freeway, cars whizzing by, I think speaks to like, you can do it wherever you are. Like, you can take Rose out of the professional environment, but you cannot take the professionalism out of Rose. And you were even that way in the studio. I remember one of my visits. Sorry, I don't mean for this whole episode to be a trip down memory lane, but I don't know if you remember this. Your studio was super small. It was you and another stylist. And I was in there getting my hair done one evening, and you had a guest who brought her daughter. And the daughter kept like, she was little, like running around saying like she kept repeating like one weird phrase that little kids do. And I could tell you wanted to die inside. And I was like, I don't care, like whatever, I don't care. And then I remember after that, I think you text me after that to follow up. And just the fact that you followed up and you're like, I just wanted to apologize if that experience maybe wasn't the most relaxing. Like, I think that guest was maybe going through a separation with her husband and like had to bring her daughter. But I just thought it was so cool that you took the time to follow up, and B, like had the empathy to know that guest was going through something. And like, that stuff's out of our control, right? But it speaks so much to what we do and who you are and the space we hold for others. So it's just been so cool to see the iteration of Rose Newton and see Tribe come to life. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, Quinn. I don't remember that happening, but that is so me. I was really like crawling out of my skin.
I think that's so funny. And it's got to be interesting for you, Quinn, to now look back on these memories with the vantage point of being a hairstylist and being able to be like, oh my gosh, I know exactly how Rose was feeling in that exact moment. And not just from a human perspective, but from a hairstylist perspective. And like, I know you said you don't want this episode to just be a trip down memory lane, but I will sit here quietly and listen to it. I think it is so funny. I'm loving it. I do have a question for you though, Rose. I can tell not only based on your social media presence, but also just what Quinn has shared with me. You are such a big advocate for education. And I know you shared earlier that someone in your life in your early career brought you into that world. Education is obviously one of my love languages. I'm obsessed with it. What role has education played in your growth as a stylist and a salon owner, and how do you instill that into your team culture, especially because your salon still is a rental space?
Yeah. So for me, education, I'm recognizing that I have a trend on focusing on one thing and like deep diving on it, and then my clientele will reflect that. For a while it was color, and I would just like hone in on color. And then because I am such a big advocate of, if you pay money to take a class, you damn well better be either having models, or the next day that you are in salon, you better be putting that formula or application has to happen like instantly, just because that's a proven thing. You have to implement it to retain it, right? So I feel like it is always interesting to me how my clientele does reflect that. Like last year, 2 years ago, I got really into bobs. So like half of my clientele has bobs now, But I think that's wonderful. And to be able to have your income reflect that too, right? If you invest in education, your clientele should reflect that, because it's showing that you're making something on your investment. The education world can be really overwhelming as stylists right now. I feel like there's so much out there, and we want to take everything and we want to invest all of our money, and a lot of stylists go into a lot of debt over this. That's hard on my heart. Like, I could go down a whole road on that, because I feel like a lot of times if you just pick one lane, stick in that education until you feel really, really comfortable and implement it, then move on to the next, instead of just kind of going all over the place and making it kind of confusing for yourself sometimes. So sum it up, I try to be really organized with education. If I'm going to take something, I want to make sure that I implement it. And I feel that my team reflects that. I think that they do the same thing. Like, we really have worked hard to only collectively invest in things that we know we're going to use. And we have a lot of conversations around that.
I think that is such good advice. I am diagnosed with ADHD, so I am a bopper. I love to put my fingers in this, put my fingers in that. Like, I think that is such good advice. And
hence the podcast. That was the ADHD idea, but I'm so happy you had it. I'm sorry to interject, but that's why the podcast is here.
literally, that is why the podcast is here. This is completely off subject, but I was taking a bath one day after Quinn and I had decided we were doing a podcast, and my husband walks into the bathroom, and I'm like, I think we're going to start a podcast. He literally was like, when, where, what? Like, was like, you don't have time for this. And now here we are. So, yeah, I guess there's benefits to bopping and staying focused, but I do really like that mindset because it's easy to get overwhelmed with the excitement of education and not implement it. And then at that point, you've just had a really expensive day at Hair Disneyland, essentially. It's cool to see that you've been able to focus so well that you see the trends within your own business. Everyone has a bob. Everyone's about to get extensions. Everyone's about to do whatever. I love that.
Yeah. I really feel like you should, if you invest in something, you should see the return on investment. That's super important to me, especially as a rental salon, because it is you are only accountable to yourself. So it's important. That's something that I feel is very important for my team to understand. And I would love for all independent stylists to really take that home and to heart, because I've really had success with it.
I really resonate with that advice as a newer stylist, because I understand how people can get into that. I don't want to call it a trap, but just the I need to collect all of these pieces of education because it's so readily available, to the extent that I've had to stop following some educators and some content creators, not because I don't like it, but because it overwhelms my brain to really hone in and get this one placement down, but then learn something completely different. And then I end up gaslighting myself of oh my God, have I been doing this wrong the whole time? There's, so many different ways to get to a very similar endpoint. So that's a takeaway I'm taking from you today, Rose, is find the education that resonates with you, do it, master that, and get the models, feel comfortable, and then move on. Because I think it's so easy to think, well, if I just take this class, it's going to click. I'm going to understand something. I'm going to feel more confident behind the chair. And I think a lot of times, I don't know if you guys feel this, but I think I'm seeking education, but I'm actually seeking validation through going to that class.
1,000%. And I think that because influencers are so magnetic, and I definitely want to be one, right? I want to be all of them, just wrapped into one ball. But it's one of those things where it's well, I can't be all of that at once, but that validation for sure it's still there, right? You feel so good. I remember after I took an on class, I was seeing his work left and right. And then now I still see his work left and right after I took that class. And I definitely feel validated when those guests are hey, this is the haircut I want. And I'm oh, hey, I took his class. But I could probably have taken another cutting class and still aced haircuts that look great like that too, It's about investing and getting that education, but also just pace yourself.
Especially in the beginning of your career, I think that's an even more overwhelming time because everything feels new. Every single moment is a new growing experience, and it'd be so much easier to get overwhelmed in that space. So I think your comment, Quinn, makes so much sense, and I agree. I think we all need to write down that, are you looking for education or are you looking for validation? That is a huge, huge, huge aspect of it. And to your point, Rose, yes, it feels so good when someone comes in with that inspiration photo and you're we're friends. I know how to do that. Got it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you had to take that class to get there either. And I don't know, I've already had so many aha moments. I'm loving this.
I have a comment for you, Rose. You are a hospitality queen. You always have been, and I would love for you to share a little bit about where that hospitality training came from, because you've shared that with me, previous to you being a hairstylist. Follow-up question is, Tribe is, I think, really known for an elevated guest experience. You've been doing that since day one, before snacks, drinks, and essential oils on the towel were cool. That's something you've been doing right out of the gate. What are some specific ways that you've built such a hospitality-focused culture? And then what practical advice do you have for stylists who want to level up their client care?
So my experience in hospitality came from working at Thunder Valley Casino here in Lincoln. I was just a server there, and while I was there, the casino was trying to become a 4-diamond rated hotel, and that comes from AAA. So there's a specific criteria that the hotel had to be matched with through secret shoppers, basically. So we were trained in, it's kind of like the Disney effect, I guess, basically. So, always saying, it's my pleasure, or pointing in a specific way, making sure that you're asking certain questions.
Can you show me how to point?
Yeah, so you go like this.
Okay, everyone.
Open hand.
Open hand gesture instead of one finger. You're opening your hand.
And not to say things like, no problem, or no worries. Instead, reframing that. You said earlier that I am buttoned up. That's where that comes from. It comes from that experience of learning how to interact with a guest.
Is that something you could host a class on? Because I could use a few buttons and would happily pay for that education. And then I promise I will implement it.
Well, it's so funny, Josie. It's something that I definitely have imposter syndrome around, to be really super honest. I feel that this industry, it doesn't always match. I feel like sometimes my expectations and the way that I carry myself doesn't necessarily always feel authentic in an industry where I feel a lot of people want more authenticity. Although it is authentic to me, sometimes I worry that it would be the opposite, which is so interesting.
Can I speak to you from a guest perspective, someone being your guest?
Yeah.
It doesn't. It was such a welcome change for me. Like, I started seeing you, I was probably in my mid-20s, and I had maybe had like 3 long-term hairstylist relationships before you, and they were very much what I think people would consider typical. And I always struggle voicing this because I never want to be condescending in any way towards hairstylists, but I think a lot of stylists have not had the opportunity to have the experience you did with hospitality training outside of this industry, or like any sort of business experience outside of this industry. And if you're not seeking it out, it doesn't just come naturally, I think. So coming to your chair, like the fact that you had a consult with me, that was a new experience. And it was really nice to kind of meet you before you did my hair and then understand what you were going to do with my hair. And you shared like, here's what's going to happen. Like, what you did is what you told me to expect. Then you followed up. And then, of course, when you opened Tribe, you implemented all of these wonderful things that, you charge a premium price, but I've never felt overcharged in any way, shape, or form because the value is absolutely there. And it's something that I've really taken into my experience once I became a hairstylist. I'm like, Rose does this, I have to do this. And I think it reflects in your clientele. I think you have a lot of professional women, and that's what they expect in terms of service.
And I don't say that that it's an imposter syndrome thing to make it. I just know that sometimes I'm like, dang, I hope that I'm not like a robot, I guess. But I also know that the things that my team implements that I have shared that work well for me elevates our experience. It is for sure to a T where that comes from. That AAA 4-diamond training it was invaluable, and I had no idea that I was getting it. Even down to like how to pour a glass of wine. Like, I had no idea. I was so young and I didn't even know that it was going to be like gold to carry me through. Sometimes I just see where I'm like, does this translate anymore? Like, or am I now too, is that the old way of styling, or is it the new way? Because we all need to begin to differentiate ourselves and what feels authentic to us. So hospitality is just natural for me, I guess, at this point. It's the way it feels.
It's funny that you mentioned that because we just did an episode on Unreasonable Hospitality, the book by Will Guidara. And I read that book last year, and when I read it, I texted you and I was like, have you read this? And you said, of course, girl, like that's why you created these beautiful takeaways for your guests to have. And then I ended up doing a presentation for the Salon about unreasonable hospitality. And I also come from a background where hospitality was really important. I was in sales, and if someone's not going to take care of my client, if I'm not going to take care of my client well, someone else is going to do it, right? So it was really important for me to have a lot of hospitality and great client care that I now bring into being a hairstylist. But I think especially with volatile economic conditions, Josie and I have been talking a lot about playing offense, if you will. Like, the hospitality, I think, is really what's going to set a stylist apart, because there's so much more access to education. There's so much more access to being, like, fundamentally and technically a good hairstylist. But if people don't like spending 3 hours in your chair, or they can't get a follow-up from you, or you have just, if you're not doing those things, they're going to find somewhere else to go. So I do think it really translates, and is probably even more important than it's ever been. Like, in me a year and a half in, I'm like, this is the most important thing you should do as a hairstylist.
I'm obsessed with the confidence. I literally am like, yes, Quinn, that is exactly right. Keep going, pop off, queen.
It's just so important, because if you won't, someone else will. And I don't want it to be like this lack mentality, but you got to elevate. You really have to.
I feel like even simple things like opening the door for your client when they leave the salon, like closing your service. In sales, you have to close your service, right? It just doesn't stop at checkout. Like, making sure that you're checking in with your guest 2 to 3 times while they're processing, offering them multiple beverages. Don't you just sit in that back room, babe. Like, you can't do that. You got to be out on the salon floor where they can see you. And there's so many resources now when it comes to hospitality. I mean, it's like endless. It doesn't, like, drinks and snacks, like, that's like fluff now, in my opinion. There's so much more than just like the physical things that need to be there. I had a guest bring in a plant for one of my team members on Friday. My team member wasn't here, and the guest stopped in and said, she told me something really heartfelt and tragic that had just happened to her. And she said that she is bringing a plant. It's going to make me cry. She's bringing a plant to my team member because my team member said, she asked her, would you like to talk about it? And she wasn't in a hurry. And that just makes me feel so proud. Like, to hold space for someone else like that. Like, it's more than just the physical parts of hospitality, but it's like really listening and caring. Sorry.
Don't be sorry. I am also tearing up, but I want to extend that hospitality to you as our podcast guest too, of giving you that space.
No. I'm okay. Thank you. It was so emotional. Just because it was really beautiful, like, to know that you can really affect someone by just giving them the hospitable moment of not being in a rush. Like, we all know we have a day of appointments stacked up behind us, but you can take the time and show someone you really care. So thank you for giving me a moment. Sorry. Had to have one.
Please don't be sorry, because I think those are the reminders that we need. Like, right, there's beauty in all things. There's beauty in giving your client 5 extra minutes, because maybe that client doesn't have anyone else to talk to about it, but this is a space she feels safe in. And I think you should be really proud that you've built a salon that the culture, that guests feel comfortable doing that, and you have people on your team who give your guests that space and who don't feel the pressure to be like, I got a double, I'm so busy, I got to keep going. They know that it's important to slow down and hold the space for their clients.
And keep the humanity behind being a hairdresser. It's really easy to get sucked up into the hustle of it, right? Of more and more of these videos of come with me so I can tell you how much money I've made in a day, which is great and so important and informative too, but it isn't just money. It isn't just highlights. It isn't just productivity that we're doing on a day-to-day basis. And I think that to be able to have that experience with a guest who's not even yours, right? It's such a testament to what you have built in your own salon. And I am honored to be in your space that you have created to keep the humanity alive. I don't know if that makes sense.
Thank you. That's really sweet. And thank you for letting me share that moment. I don't know that it actually truly hit me until sharing it with you guys, that was and looking at the station that I put the plant at, that it was like, oh, that was a really special, beautiful moment that I was really lucky to get to be a part of.
Jumping topics, something that Tribe obviously has done a wonderful job is creating a recognizable and cohesive brand. As Quinn introduced you as, you are a brand queen. And even to someone who has not had the pleasure of being your guest, I recognize that brand and that experience just from seeing it on social media. What steps do you feel like you took early on to develop that identity, and how do you keep it consistent as the business continues to grow?
I would say my investment in Thriving Stylist really taught me how to brand. During, I would say, like 4 years in or so, our website went through a rebranding, and then from there, that we've just kind of taken that and just ran with it across the board as far as what we really wanted things to look like. And then shout out to Kayla from Ashton Imagery. She's my secret weapon. Beyond anything I could create, she is the backbone of Tribe's branding. She's in my chair like every 5 weeks, but so I get so much access to her, which is such a godsend to me. But she's also such a visionary and has really propelled me to even like really think about branding and understanding how to do it and what guests are looking for, and honestly even the point behind it. I think there were a certain time for me as a salon owner where I would find myself like too busy to do social media, and she would remind me, well, like if you don't show us why we should be here, then we're not going to be here, and so Kayla Ashton Imagery is the whole reason for the branding at Tribe. That would be period, end of story. She's just incredible. Also making sure that your team is set up for branding, making sure that they have all the tools. That's been really a great addition here at Tribe, just having all the tripods readily available. And then listening when your team sends you videos. Like our team, we have a little Tribe chat on Instagram, and everyone's always sending videos there, and then we just recreate them or inspire each other to do so. Like this video would be great for you, you should do it, so and then something that's super unique about our page is my team will collaborate with Tribe's page. So when they make a reel, if they'd like it on Tribe's page, they collaborate, which makes my job so much easier. And then it showcases each of their individualities and their businesses. So that, to me, I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud that they want their work on our page. I think that's really cool.
I've definitely noticed that, and it's interesting to point out that your stylists are renters, right? They're running their own business, but go take a look at the Tribe Instagram, and then you'll see the collaboration. I think I follow all of your stylists too, because I'm just such a fangirl of you and of Tribe, and I have like this social relationship with a handful of your stylists too, just through the DMs. I've never met them in person, but I'm like, any friend of Rose is a friend of mine. And their branding that they do on their personal page fits Tribe. Like the vibe is the same. Like it's very, I know aesthetic is not an adjective, but it has the same aesthetic, right? I think that's so impressive because they don't have to make it look that way, but it looks consistent and cohesive.
I would actually have no idea that is how you have been doing your socials because of how cohesive it really looks. It's such a great idea to help take work off your own plate, right? And to highlight their own businesses, like you said. But it also is really risky if you don't have the right team culture built in. You could get who knows what showing up on your page. Granted, you have the ability to approve or not approve, but
what's been really great about it is when we do this past year, I invested with Kayla of Ashton Imagery to come in and do a photo shoot once a month with us. So we have all of these backlog folders of content. And my team has collaborative folders, so they have access to that. That was the best investment, hands down. And we're going to continue that this year, kicking off with one huge photo shoot where we always do like our headshots and then get some team photos, things like that. And on that note, I've really found that team photos are kind of obsolete. I would prefer to get individuals. As a independent salon owner, I think that it's more worth your investment to just allow the stylist to get the shots that they want and that they're going to use, like they're going to feel comfortable posting, because that's the whole point. You know, it doesn't need to be these are for the salon or for Tribe. We're investing in this so that way it is cohesive across the board. And I'm really glad to hear that it's coming off that way. I don't always put that like deep of thought into it just because it's always looked good. I guess maybe if I was getting off the cuff stuff, it would be like, oh, maybe we don't want that. But it's never been that way because of the access.
I think that's so smart. I think that doing a team photo, I agree. I feel like it does feel a little bit obsolete, even in an employee-based setting, because you never know what that team will look like in 2 weeks, 2 months, a year. How long is that team photo really going to last you for? How long is it going to be up to date versus those individual headshots, especially doing it like you are, where it's still all going to feel cohesive no matter how many times the team changes and evolves. It still is relevant to take those January photos and use them now, or take last November's photos and use them now. I think it's such a good idea. I love that.
I can also speak to the genius that is Kayla at Ashton Imagery. So Rose actually connected me with Kayla, and Kayla was my wedding photographer, and her husband Lonnie was our videographer, and we took them to Cabo with us. And even like with our engagement photos and with our wedding photos, she is an incredibly talented photographer, but she's also so good at like seeing the shot and getting you to do what needs to be done. And like she does have this vision and can really bring it to life. And I think that's so cool that you have it once a month for your stylists, because things change, things evolve, and the once a year, like the team looks different, right? The team could look different next month. So I love that you have that, because you do need to constantly be putting out fresh content that feels current, instead of that picture when, I don't know, XYZ trend was in and we all had that going on, and then that's what we keep using and we're like, we can tell this is a little bit outdated.
For us, our team meetings have become a space for content. So we just went from an hour meeting to a 2-hour meeting once a month, and the last hour is based on social media, recreating content that we just send in the Tribe Instagram. We're just like being goofballs, running into each other on stools and, you know, being silly. But then also I send my team DMs on, let's recreate this individual. Like I have one right now where they're all supposed to stomp on the camera and then look at the camera and stomp on the camera. And honestly, the coolest part about it is watching them all create it together, and then the silliness that comes out of it, and also the tricks, like, you know, sitting down versus standing or whatever, like the way that they bond over it and creating that space for the camaraderie to happen. It's pretty cool.
I have a question, because as a rental salon, I know a lot of times the struggle is creating that culture and creating the desire to show up for meetings, right? It actually, prior to us even doing the podcast today, you had mentioned you wanted to pick someone's brain on that specifically, but the more we talk, the more I realize that you might be experiencing a little imposter syndrome there, because you seem to be doing a wonderful job. Do you have any advice for rental salon owners to be able to get people to show up to meetings? It's hard in that space.
I would say ditch the expectation. Just set the date way ahead of time. We know that I made this mistake this year. I didn't schedule my meets for January and February. They should have been scheduled in 2024. I didn't. I waited until, December 31st probably to schedule them and then I was like, oh wait, I'm going to be gone for hockey, so that's not even going to work. So we did just one meet, and then March rolled around and we were like, it's been too long. Like, we have not had time together. So schedule them a year plus in advance, and just ask your team, ask and listen to your team what they're wanting and what works for them, like what time of day works best. We do a lot of polls here. I use Band to send out polls to ask what times work and what days work. But I think beyond that, even be flexible. Sometimes kids come to our meeting and they're just chilling in the back room, hanging out, drawing Minecraft. I don't know. Just be flexible with your team and make them feel wanted. I want to be around my team. And I think that truly believe that they want to be around each other and that they are inspired by each other. Most often when I'm doing interviews, people are super impressed that we have meetings and they want to come to meetings. And maybe that's just a part of our branding. Maybe that message is coming through, like we are a community here and we work together. Maybe that's how I've been able to draw that in. But the expectation, I think you just have to let go. I think it's good to have boundaries and know that, hey, if you don't come to the meeting, I'm not going to recite the whole meeting to you, but you need to have the expectation for yourself.
It looks like you take content in your meetings about content.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I see you post those, and I love that. A, like as a stylist, but B, still as a client, I would be like, that's so cool that A, they like each other. Because I think a lot of guests have maybe had the experience of going to a salon where you can like feel the infighting, and that's just like, ooh, that's icky. So I think it's nice for guests to see like all of the collaboration that happens, and it's smart to get content of you getting content, or at least planning content. Like you're being very strategic with your stylist's time too. And I think that you also, to Josie's point, have a lot of imposter syndrome, because I know you provide so much value in those meetings, and that's not something that you have to do. You're not their employer.
Yeah. It's something that I've always felt that rental stylists want, though. Whether or not they're going to show up every time, my thought is they're not going to show up every time because we're independent. That's the whole point of being independent, is being able to have flexibility within your schedule and run your life in the way that you see fit. So if you have a doctor's appointment and that is more at the top of your priority list, like, you go. I get it. I totally understand. But you know that you're missing out on something that you're investing in. And I really truly feel that the fee that my stylists pay to be here at Tribe is inclusive. It includes those meetings. I truly feel that that is like something that is a non-negotiable. They deserve access to me, and they deserve access to each other if they're willing to be present. I think that's a part of the whole package.
I think someone from the outside looking in might think that you're employee based because of the cohesion and the teamwork and the camaraderie that you have.
A lot of it's my team. Like, I could really, like, I'll take some credit for it, but that doesn't happen. Like, I could just be sitting up here on my rolly stool by myself. You know what I mean? Like, it happens because my team makes it happen. And the topics that they want to talk about, they're sharing that with me. I don't have a magic wand that is, just creating this amazing, agenda for the meetings. It's truly what they are looking for collectively, and we talk about that. That's something that in the polls that I ask.
It seems like the secret sauce here is that you also listen to what your team is saying. They give you feedback because you listen to their feedback.
And bringing it back to our education point, you listen to their feedback and then you implement that feedback too. I think that it's easy to hold a space to listen, but if action is not taken on it, it can be really disheartening for stylists in any space, right? To be like, yes, thank you so much for giving me that space to speak, but if nothing changes or nothing evolves from that conversation, it starts to feel, what is the phrase I'm going for? Like empty promises.
That is super important to me. Like, ditto everything you just said, because that's truly how I feel. Because I like to feel heard as well with my team. When I have an ask, I like to see that ask come to fruition, whether it be you opening the door for your guests when they leave, or making sure that we're getting back to guests in a timely manner, or, when we're in the back room folding towels together. The little things when I ask for something, I like to see that in return. And so that expectation is also, reversed on myself. And I feel that strongly too.
Because time is an investment too. Time is a resource. So again, I keep bringing it back to the education conversation, but sometimes you're not investing in money, right? Like your stylists are not, they're paying you because they're a rental salon, but they're not paying you to sit down and have that conversation and listen to their feedback, to look at those polls directly, right? But
you're like wasting your time. Like, why am I going to share anything if you're not going to listen? It is intimidating to speak up and share in a group setting. So the fact that you're hearing it and then implementing it is this positive feedback loop of, okay, when I have a good idea and I'm comfortable enough to share it, I get to see it come to life in my salon. Kind of in summation of this point is you lead with a lot of intention, and you also model what your expectations are. You do the same things you're asking your team to do. and they're able to follow that because your actions align with your words and your asks. We've talked about a lot of the positives, but I do want to ask you, what's a leadership challenge that you have faced that maybe you, if you're comfortable sharing, that you have faced that's ultimately helped you shape how you function as a leader?
Yeah, this one for me is ever evolving. I book myself back to back to back behind the chair. And so leading in the moment is difficult for me. Stopping to have a hard conversation has always been, I'm very much a soft-spoken person, but on the inside, I'm really fierce, like really, really fierce, which it kind of doesn't have a lot of room for balance if I'm being, super transparent, because I'll work myself up to feel one way and then I can't get it out. So I have learned, while coaching in the moment is very positive and it can be really effective, for me personally, I need to take a moment and formulate it rather than just spitting it out, because it doesn't match. Because I am really soft-spoken, and you're always going to get soft-spoken Rose, but then mom Rose comes out and it's very different. It's a very different me. And so I guess going back to expectations, I set high expectations for everybody in my head. And then I have to remember that, like, no, that's a you thing, not a them thing. And so the leadership piece for me, I guess, that has really helped me is like, yes, I have heard in coaching classes often around leadership, like, coach on the spot. That does not work well for me. I have to take a step back and then think about what I'm trying to say and why it's important, instead of just saying in the moment, like, I need you to do this differently, or maybe this could have been done better. Like, why am I saying that? Is that a me thing? Because sometimes it's just a me thing. Sometimes it's just my really high expectation.
I think, too, it's easy to be acting from a state of emotion, depending on what we're talking about, right? Like, it could be something really crazy, and all of a sudden you are in this, I don't want to use like an overused word, but like a triggered state of like, holy crap, I can't believe you just let your client eat a snack off the floor. I don't know, something crazy. But I think it is important to ground yourself in any relationship you have before you have those conversations, and whether that be a working professional relationship or even just a relationship with a friend or a partner, you have completely different outcomes from a conversation that is based in emotion versus what's based in reality. And I think that's such a good place that you have been in, to be able to reflect on yourself, to know that if I'm coaching from a place of emotion, it may not come across the way that I actually want it to.
I relate so much to what you said about having really high expectations, and a lot of times those are in your head and maybe not verbalized. And I think Josie's the same too, of like, I can be pretty quick to judgment if someone does something differently than the way that I would do it, if I perceive that they did it in a poor way, right? Like, why the hell would you do XYZ? Can you help me with that? How have you coached yourself through that? Because it's kind of this interesting dynamic, because you're like, I am the owner, like, Tribe is my salon, even though these people are renting space, like, you have this expectation, but people are not you. How do you work through that?
I think it's just trying to stay really present with how you're feeling, instead of how somebody, I guess, made you feel, differentiating the two. And then I think, honestly, a lot of it just comes from like being busy behind the chair. Like, sometimes I don't have the time to have that conversation. So either I can be irritated and highlighting, or I can be like, yeah, that was a lot, and we're going to talk about that later when I have time to process it, and highlighting. I think that's the time factor is a piece of it for me. But I think truly it's just really being really present about it when you're feeling that way in leadership or just in a co-working space.
And I want to commend you, because that takes a lot of emotional intelligence and emotional restraint to be able to see something crazy go down. And as long as no one's at risk, right, you don't necessarily have to address it right then and there. But of course, it's something that has to come up later. So props to you, because that's definitely something that I struggle with. And if I ever fast forward in my mind to like, would I ever have a salon? I know that's a huge pain point for me, and I'm sure it's a huge pain point for other people.
Across the board. I mean, I've been in salon spaces before where little things become big things. Like, there's going to be hair on the floor, y'all. A lot, all the time. And we can't get upset about if somebody doesn't sweep up the floor. Just sweep up the floor, and move on. Taking the little things that irritate us throughout the day and just looking at the actual big picture. I practice that here daily because we're all really busy and booked stylists and things are going to slip. And that's okay. That's why we're a team. That's why we work together and we have each other's backs in that way. So knowing and trusting that although if something's irritating you, somebody else is probably also seeing it and they're going to come with you on it, on this journey, I guess, is kind of the way I've handled those like little things that get really big in your head.
It's something my best friend back home and I say to each other a lot, not even just in a professional working setting, but in just a human setting, is that nobody has the same brain or same heart as you. And it's really easy to be living in your body, your existence, and expect everyone else to feel the exact same way. And I think that can heighten those frustrations too, right? Because to your point, Quinn, you were like, I would never have done it like that. What the heck? Why would you have even thought that that was the most appropriate route to take? I find myself grounding myself in that mantra of no one has the same brain or same heart, and it does help to release some of that expectation.
That's really helpful because I think we all get caught up in our own way of thinking and being and assuming that everyone operates in the same way that we do. I do have to remind myself to take it a step back and no, that's actually really cool that not everyone does because that's my secret sauce, right? That's actually a gift instead of an irritant.
My team asks me all the time, what are you seeing in the space that we're not seeing when it comes to cleanliness and stuff like that? And you are probably very much the same way, Quinn. I bet you and Josie, I bet there are things that you see that others don't. And it's just because different brain, different body. I'm totally stealing that, Josie. I love it.
I love it too. What's one thing that you wish you knew before you became a salon owner? And what would you say to someone who is on that verge of that next chapter and thinking about opening up their own space?
One thing I wish I knew before becoming a salon owner would be to get all of your ducks in a row when it comes to being a business owner. Be very well-versed in what professionals you need. You need a CPA, you need a good lawyer, you need a good banker, and then develop those relationships well before you open up your doors. I just feel that was not done in Tribe until maybe a year and a half in. And so for me, it was a huge learning curve and a costly one, not for negative reasons, but just for I didn't know how much this actually costs. You open up, you find the space and it's an empty box and then you spend a lot of money making it pretty, but none of that truly matters unless you have the behind the scenes done and concrete, because you can really get yourself into a space where you're spending money on things that aren't foundational and really develop your relationships with those people because they're going to help you grow your business. I would definitely include our marketing in the marketing space to get someone who's really, really wonderful at that marketing and branding and have them help you develop your brand before you open. That would be my biggest thing. If somebody was going to open up a salon space, I would say, just really know it's going to be a beautiful journey, but also know that you're going to just learn so much about yourself along the way. So just remain open and stay curious. That's what I would say about yourself, and don't make it about other people within your space. You have to really be self-reflective.
What's something that you learned about yourself through opening and running Tribe that you didn't know before?
I really like change. I think that's something that can be really hard for other people. Something as simple as in my salon space, I view each station as it's whatever. They all have the same stuff at each station. But in the past, I've had stylists not want to move stations, although they're all the same. To me, in my head, I embrace change, and flexibility is something that I'm really good at, but others are maybe not as receptive. So learning that piece, that's kind of weird. That would be the biggest thing that would stand out to me. I embrace change. And then I really like people. I like community. I think that I didn't understand how much I like to build community until opening up a salon space.
And you definitely have given this space to the community. You've built a community. People feel comfortable and welcome and validated when they're here, and you do so many things for your community. Like you do a teen clothing drive, which I think is so cool. Has that happened yet?
Yeah, this year we are beginning early. So we already have our boxes out for donations. And then we're partnering with a couple different local family and community organizations that we're going to be sending the clothing to this year. So
That's incredible. This will come out before then. So we will leave definitely your Instagram in the show notes so people can go. And if you are local to Roseville or Sacramento and you have gently used or unused clothing for teens, come bring it by Tribe. They will go to an amazing place. So I just commend you on all the work that you've done for the community, even beyond hair. Like I think you take it so seriously that you are a business in the Roseville community. Like you want to give back so much.
I do. It's, I'm from a small town, like 2 towns up from Roseville. And to me, living in Roseville was like making it. And so I truly feel that way. Like I truly feel like being able to walk into this space and flip the lights on is a dream come true for me, being in Roseville. Like it's like the big city.
You have made it, girl. You have made it. I have one last question for you. Looking back, what is one piece of advice or something that you would tell little Rose, younger Rose, when you were just starting out behind the chair?
Gosh, I could like write a novel on that. And I think I would say this to myself now, honestly, like both, like don't be so afraid to put yourself out there.
I love that. I think that it's very easy to put yourself in a box, right? Of your own expectations of yourself, your own perceptions of yourself. And I think that is great advice for everyone, no matter what point they are at in their career, to not be afraid to go for whatever you're hoping to achieve, I love that. I think that is so sweet.
I feel like there's so much with that, though, like knowing that what you may want may change. And that's cool.
Well, I know little Rose is so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so grateful for you, and I'm so proud of everything that you do. And you are, I don't know if I've told you this, maybe I have, but you're a huge reason as to why I'm a hairstylist. And I'm going to totally cry. Will you just stop crying?
I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know we were going to be such a sad podcast.
But going back on, I've always looked up to your professionalism, and I think it's really resonated with me. And I think that's part of, like, I've always loved hair, right? And, like, I've always loved talking about hair with you. And I hope I was never that pain in the ass client that thinks that they know, like, I watched this YouTube video and I know how to, I hope I was never that to you.
Never.
Okay. I look back and I hope to God, I hope I did not ruin your life.
No, I was like, oh, yes, coins coming in today.
Thank you so much. But seeing how you carry yourself, because I hadn't really seen that before in hair, that I never let it be a possibility in my mind of like I could be a hairstylist, just because I was never that like edgy, funky, cool, I hate to say the word flaky, but like I'm just not a flaky person. I never really resonated with the hairstylist culture, if that makes sense, before I met you. So seeing you be like, I'm a professional, like I show up on time, I have good spelling and punctuation, I was like, I could do it. Like Rose is successful and she shows as this, which I just didn't feel like I fit the mold of being a hairstylist. So I never let myself go there in my mind of this is a possibility prior to like meeting you and understanding you and working with you and you lifting the veil for me. Like I would ask you business questions in your chair because I'm like, this girl knows what she's doing.
Always made me so happy.
Thank you so much, because you are so inspiring and you're so different in such a positive way. Like I'm struggling with my words here, but what you do matters and the way you do it matters.
Being able to speak with you today, I hope that you release any of that imposter feeling like you're not authentic, because it radiates that this is who you are. There is no thought in my mind, having met you for the first time, of is Rose putting on a face? Is Rose buttoning up one more time for the podcast? I know this is you, and I know that if you had invited us over for snacks and a movie night at your house, it would be a very similar experience. And I love it. I've been really enjoying our time together.
Well, thank you both. I feel like those little things that make me around hospitality and the professionalism, I think they're just little things that really anybody can implement. It just becomes a part of your personality and the way that you want to make people feel. It's not like I don't have to think about being that way. It's just, I want you to feel that way in my chair. I want you to feel like you can come into this space and just let it all go and know that you're going to be very well taken care of and respected.
I think we could talk for hours and hours, but just for the sake of your time, our listeners' time, that is it for today's episode of Rooted and Rising Through the Beauty Industry. Thank you so much, Rose, for sharing your story, your wisdom, and your heart with us today. Thank you for hanging with us on Rooted and Rising Through the Beauty Industry. Our goal is to build a community where hairstylists at every stage feel empowered, inspired, and supported. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss a new one.
And if you're loving the show, we'd really appreciate it if you left a rating or a review, share it with a fellow stylist, and join the conversation on Instagram at Rooted and Rising Beauty. It helps more stylists just like you find us.
Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, stay rooted, and keep rising.